the commute this morning. And then, of course, we have meteorologist Stacy-Ann Gooden watching this incoming storm.
That's right, and it's incoming with some pretty powerful stuff, including damaging winds and the potential for flooding and higher risk, especially for New Jersey. We've been talking about the fact that the ground is already saturated. We had rain, we had snow move through the area, so that's going to exacerbate the situation for folks there. So it's a major storm bringing in the flooding and the damaging winds and whatnot, and then should taper. Major storm bringing in the flooding and the damaging winds and whatnot, and then should taper off by tomorrow morning with lingering impacts. So although we'll be out of the woods, well, technically we won't. But although the rain
bluish color, that's indicative of snow. Now parts of Sullivan and even Ulster County under a winter weather advisory. Little to no accumulation is expected because a lot of that will get washed away as temperatures rise. So in the afternoon, right at around 3, we'll be at 43 degrees in the city, 44 Islip, 37 Newburgh, and then watch this. It goes up as we head into 5 o'clock. Now, normally temperatures start to descend, but quite the opposite with that warm front bringing in that milder air and pumping in that moisture from the Gulf. So we'll be at around 56 by 8:30. This is where we'll have those heavy downpours, and if that squall line holds up, we could be talking about a whole lot of rain in a short amount of time. I know Kala touched on this a little bit, but we could be averaging anywhere from about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch per hour, some locally higher than that. Then it starts to wind down a bit as we head into about midnight with some pockets of heavy downpours still across Suffolk County, parts of Connecticut, even parts of the Hudson Valley and New Jersey. And then we'll see things kind of come to an end as we head into the pre-dawn hours. But just keep in mind, we're still going to be dealing with some issues across the area, including flooding and maybe even some wind damage. Some trees may come down, some down tree limbs, some leaves will actually possibly even clog drains, and subways may even be impacted. Sometimes we get flooded subways during times like this. 2 to even 4 inches of rain is possible because we're going with a locally higher amount, so just keep that in mind. And as I mentioned, winds gusting into the 40s, 50s, 60s, near 70 miles per hour. Belmar coming in at 64-mile-an-hour wind gusts at around the 11 o'clock hour. South shore of Long Island especially getting those gusty winds. We have a wide range of temperature readings, anywhere from the teens to the 30s right now. But that was Monday. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A lot of folks having off, and that may actually be a good thing. That was Monday. That's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. A lot of folks having off, and that may actually be a good thing, Alex. Okay, yeah, absolutely, if you can stay home. Stacy-Ann, thank you for that. We're starting with a live look.
It will be huge.
Yeah, just the staging. Can you imagine?
The costuming.
Yeah.
The wigs.
The chaps.
I love everything.
Oh,
come on.
Okay. The guitar. Yeah.
Taking you back, right?
yeah.
Oh, man.
It's so exciting.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
I could talk about Purple Rain all day because I don't want to talk about this storm, but I have to.
I know. Talking about rain.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Passaic River. There's several tributaries that feed into the Passaic, so we're keeping for a while. And
we've got Colorama and Fairfield talking about it this morning. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, for a while. And
we've got Colorama and Fairfield talking about it this morning. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she's got the latest with that. And let's not forget about Nassau, Suffolk counties too. We've got some flooding concerns there as well. We'll talk about that.
Tributaries.
Right. Which means the roads will probably be a little nuts.
They'll become tributaries as well. I don't know if I use that, at least on the traffic front. Not a whole lot going on. We have the one issue we'll get to, but we want to, at least on the traffic front. Not a whole lot going on. We have the one issue we'll get to, but we want to show you the LIE in Queens. We're moving and grooving on the LIE up top, on the Grand Central down below, east and west, no problem spots. Everybody, to be exact, westbound or outbound Gowanus Expressway. This is right at the Belt Parkway split. Earlier vehicle, to be exact, westbound or outbound Gowanus Expressway. This is right at the Belt Parkway split. Earlier vehicle fire cleanup still underway. Very small, minor, localized delay there, which is also good news. Alternate side parking rules are in effect. Meteorologist Stacy-Ann Gooden. Lots to cover on this weather alert day.
Oh, a whole lot. You got that right, Alex. And of course, that's why we are here, because I know you got us covered in the traffic department, especially come tomorrow when we're going to be dealing with the aftermath of the storm, which is set to ramp up later on today, as early as late morning, early afternoon is a timeline. Remember, we've been talking about this area of low pressure to our south. We have a parent low that's going to be moving through the Great Lakes. So that combined with this added trough that's going to be really fueling things, that's going to supply us with all the heavy downpours. So high wind warning for coastal sections, 50 to 60 plus miles per hour. Some areas nearing 70 miles per hour. Wind advisory inland. We've been talking about those gusts reaching around 50. And with that, you just keep in mind, there could be some downed trees, power lines, maybe even some power outages. A coastal flood warning for parts of the tri-state, as well as an advisory. We're going to talk more about that. And then we also have a watch in effect across the area beyond this point. 2 to 4 inches possible. Temperatures still in the 20s and 30s, actually going up. And you know why? Because we have copious amount of clouds. That's really preventing temperatures from falling. Instead, they're going up. So we're already seeing that warm air advection take shape. So here's what's happening for later on. We'll be in the 40s, climbing into the 50s before the night is out. We'll have a closer look at that. Vanessa, sending it over to you.
Stacy-Ann, thank you so much. And of course, with that storm Stacy-Ann was mentioning, the potential for some downed trees from all that wind. Potential for some downed trees from all that wind.
All right, let's get a check on our weather and traffic. Alex Lee watching the roads and the rails for us.
And meteorologist Stacy-Ann Gooden is watching this weather alert. Stacy-Ann, is it true that we had more rain totals than we had snow totals so far?
Oh, pretty much,
Yeah.
I know a lot of folks are just waiting for that big snowstorm. It's not going to happen this go around. I'm sorry. We only had 0.2 inches of snow over the weekend. Yeah, much more rain that we've gotten across the area. We're still at a deficit, though, in both categories, working together to provide us a storm system here. So in terms of where we stand right now, most of the days as we working together to provide us a storm system here. So in terms of where we stand right now, most of the days, as we've been talking about, above normal. As you can see there, 5 days and then 3 days below normal. And we're at a little bit of a deficit or slightly below average. But when you look at the rain category, certainly we're below average as well in that arena. All right, so here's a look. We're going to time it out for you. So close around the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock hours, that's when things will get going. Can't rule out a few sprinkles or light showers before then, so just keep that in mind. You figure late morning, early afternoon, things will get going. It becomes more widespread as the day wears on. But as you can see, we got some snow showers. We talked about Pike, Sullivan, Ulster counties. Under a winter weather advisory, parts of the upper Hudson Valley region, that's going to eventually be replaced with just wetness. We're talking about heavy downpours moving through the area. At times, we're talking a whole lot of rain in a short amount of time. When those squall lines come through the area, that's where we stand a greater chance of maybe 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch per hour, maybe even more. I'm seeing possibility of about 1 inch per hour of rainfall, but it does eventually wind down. But during the peak of the storm system, we're talking about 5 to about midnight, we'll get those heavy downpours, we'll get those flooded out roads, as well as those strong gusty winds leading to damage. We start to wind down during the pre-dawn hours. By around 4 o'clock, we'll see everything pretty much clear out. Maybe the eastern end of tip of Long Island may get a few leftover showers. Here a look at peak wind gusts. We're talking about 20s, 30s this afternoon, but climbing to near 60, even 70 miles per hour. Take a look at Belmar. Over 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts anticipated. And with that, that could lead to some damage, maybe even some power outages. The winds will shift gears, becoming more southwesterly eventually. But eventually, things will start to die down. But there will be some lingering impacts for tomorrow morning's commute. Here are storm impacts in the meantime. High risk for moderate to heavy rain, flooding. We could even be talking about some thunderstorms with those squall lines and those damaging winds. Power outages, moderate to high risk. Low risk for tornadoes, but something that we're going to also keep an eye on because of the intensity of this storm. Teens, 20s, 30s right now, so you want to bundle up, but throughout the course of the day, may even peel away those layers, but you certainly need the rain gear, that's for sure. Afternoon temperatures will be in the 40s, and then overnight climbing into the 50s. Start off mild, and then it'll be a gradual decline throughout the day, getting quite blustery, and then our next storm system Friday night into Saturday. Snow, rain possibility for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Alex.
I'm sure a lot of people hoping for the snow category on that one. Stacy-Ann, thank you. George Washington Bridge inbound lower level left.
Because of the already significant impacts to previous storms, and just to get you more aware of what's to come. That's really important because late morning, early afternoon, things will start to get going. Cold start, increasing clouds, major storm bringing rain. Some areas getting some snow showers. As a matter of fact, north and west of the city, Sullivan, Ulster County under a winter weather advisory later on today. But as those temperatures warm, Aiden transitioning all rain. So it should taper off early tomorrow morning. And again, we're tracking the aftermath as well. I anticipate tomorrow morning's commute, although we'll be out of the woods with the rain, the lasting impacts will be felt. So here's a look, tornado watch. This is for the southeast. Now, particular close attention to the coastal section of Mississippi on in toward Alabama. We're watching this because these squall lines will continue to move further north and east, impacting our area if it does hold up, and it looks like it will based on these model runs that we're tracking. So, as we mentioned, around the 11 o'clock hour start time, can't rule out a few sprinkles or flakes before then, but it really does ramp up in the afternoon hours. It'll become more widespread as we head into 12 to about 3 o'clock. Pockets of heavy downpours even anticipated during the 3 o'clock hour. That's when the evening commute really starts to get going, and the intensity will start to build as we head into the 5 o'clock hour right through around midnight. That's when we're seeing the heaviest, and you can make it out by the yellows, the oranges, the reds. Whenever you see those bright colors, that's indicative of just that. And also notice temperatures rising. That's because that warm front will bring in milder air. We got a lot of moisture. We got a lot of lift, and we anticipate all of that to wreak havoc on the area, bringing those strong damaging winds, as well as the potential for flooding. We talked about the Passaic River, Saddle River, Raritan River. We'll have those high tides coming up in just a second, but I wanted to point your attention to rainfall amounts, 2 to 4 inches possible. We're going with that range. If you look at the contouring, kind of makes it out for you. The brighter will be gusting into the 40s, 50s, nearing 60, even over 60 miles per hour, especially near the, will be gusting into the 40s, 50s, nearing 60, even over 60 miles per hour, especially near the coast. That's why we're talking about bringing in all those loose items from outside. High tide cycles, this is what it looks like tomorrow morning. Freeport, Jamaica Bay, Canarsie, Fire Island. We're looking at around the 6, 7 o'clock hours. That's when you can anticipate those high tide cycles really leading to flooding, and that's something that we're going to watch for you. 20s, 30s, 40s. What a range this is. But those temperatures will continue to climb. Here's a look at your 7. Rain arrives late Friday into Saturday. Snow, rain showers possibly for MLK Day. Fortunately, a lot of folks are off that day, and we'll continue to keep you posted on what's ahead for later on today.
In Main Street and Boulevard, so portions of the roadway will be closed down because they are just too flooded to be passable with care. And same story on Route 22 westbound closures. This is going to be between Glenside Avenue and North Drive. So meteorologist Stacy-Ann Gooden, we are like wringing out the roadways over here until the next round comes in this weekend.
Yeah, a lot of that moisture wringing it out, and that's what we had throughout the course of yesterday into the overnight hours, where we had pretty much the peak of the storm. Now, what we have to contend with, still some flooding, and I want to just drive home the point, really ramping up. It's really difficult to see. So some lingering showers, really ramping up. It's really difficult to see. So some lingering showers still continue, and it's maybe difficult to see where there's ponding. So do be careful if you have to be out during the pre-dawn hours. So we clear out eventually. That cold front has swept through behind it. Do stand the chance of those temperatures tumbling throughout the day. We've already maxed out. High wind warning, coastal sections, Long Island as well as Connecticut, still be gusting to 50 to 60 plus miles per hour. Wind advisory inland. We have some changes in regards to the locations. We'll talk about that. Coastal flood warning and advisories in place. We have the flood watch still across the area. About 2 to 4 inches of rain is what we anticipate. We have those totals coming into play, and we'll bring them to you. But now take a look at these temperatures already starting to cool down north and west of the city. Still quite mild. You may look outside and feel how nice it is, but temperatures taking a dive. Current wind speeds, we'll talk more about that and
floods. Saddle River is expected to crest later this morning. Mix 11's Kirsten Cole live in Lodi with more on the conditions. They're seeing that flooding and ponding floods. Saddle River is expected to crest later this morning. Mix 11's Kirsten Cole live in Lodi with more on the conditions. They're seeing that flooding and ponding behind you, Kirsten. Good morning.
Yeah, and we're already on the move, Vanessa.
So we've had a lot of reports of flooding. Alex has been talking about some flooded roads. We also have reports of down into the 40s and 50s, as you can see here, New York, 55, Tappan Zee Light, and that's 54. Where we're seeing peak wind gusts over 70 in some locations. So far, though, we peak wind gusts over 70 in some locations. So far, though, we've had an inch and a half of rain in Livingston. Now, just take this with a grain of salt because we do have some updates to these numbers. This is like from last night into around midnight or so. So we'll have another update because the rain has continued and tapered off sometime at around the 4 o'clock hour. A little earlier further west. Let's take a look now. Temperature-wise, we're at 56 New York City, north and west, a little bit chillier. That colder air, you can make out with the contouring from blue to green. Yeah, the colder air will be coming through. So this afternoon will be in the 40s. We'll take a closer look at the highs and lows. Another storm system, too, to talk about. Alex.
Okay, Stacy-Ann, thank you for covering all that ground. And you, Vanessa, back to you.
Stacy-Ann Gooden tracking an ongoing weather alert.
Yeah, we had some flooding concerns. There were, at one point, we even had flash flood warning in play across parts of Nassau County. That has since expired at around the 2 o'clock hour. But the flooding concerns continue. Now we're at a surplus. Remember, we were talking about a deficit with the fact that we haven't had much rain for the month of January, even though we ended 2023 on a pretty wet note. So we're making up for that, the fact that we're at a deficit, but we're still below average in the snow category. As you can see, about 2 inches below normal. Here's a look at our satellite and radar. Pockets of lingering showers to have to contend with. We have the pockets of lingering showers to have to contend with. We have this lineup through coming right around the New Jersey Turnpike, pushing in toward, looks like Brooklyn, Queens, even Staten Island there. So maybe dry in Staten Island, but just give it another 10 minutes or so and the sprinkles will start coming down, but it won't be in the way of heavy duty downpours like we've had last night and during the early part of the overnight, I should say. So here's what's happening. Flood stage 8 feet. 10 feet later on today. The latest, we're at 10 feet later on today. The latest, we're at 9.72. So flooding concerns continue. We have the highest point expected later on today. So it's not expected to recede until after that. It'll be a gradual decline, but those floodwaters should recede soon enough. And just some reminders. Many deaths occur when cars are swept downstream. 6 inches of fast-moving water is enough to knock down an adult, so think about what it could do to a child, right? And then we have 12 inches of rushing waters that can carry away most cars. Higher profile vehicles, about 2 feet or so, so keep that in mind. Also, be aware, we just talked about the fact that the sun is setting a little bit later. Well, the sun is rising later as well. So when you factor that in, it's darker for extended time during the morning commute. So as you make your way out, just take it with extra caution. There could be some pooling, some standing water to have to contend with that you may not even see. And with the snow melt further north, that just adds to that because there's some fog in some areas like the upper Hudson Valley. If you're in Poughkeepsie, 53 degrees, it's still kind of mild, but the colder air is starting to move through. That may help with the foggy conditions as well. But if you're in Westchester, Putnam, Dutchess County, there may be some fog there to have to contend with. 57 degrees. Milder air will eventually move out later on this afternoon. Speaking of which, afternoon temperatures will be in the mid to upper 40s. Now, there could be some lingering showers, but again, there may it's pretty much over. Just a few pockets that we're looking at. 30s for tonight. We'll have partly cloudy skies, and then winds will start to die down, eventually coming out of the southwest, as you can see there. Starts to relax later on in the evening hours into the overnight, early morning. We'll be back down into the teens. And then looking ahead to Friday, we're tracking the potential for a few snow showers north and west, but that rain snow event arrives. Temperatures will eventually get quite cold once again.
Okay, Stacy-Ann, lots to keep track of over there. Thank you so much.
You know who it is. It's a household name with an iconic symbol. Oscar Mayer and its Wienermobile have been around for generations. Well, now the company is looking for the next generation of drivers. The job of hot dogger, as it's called, is a full-time gig for 1 year. The salary is around $35 grand. Chosen applicants will serve as the company's brand ambassadors, traveling the country in its signature ride, showcasing Oscar Mayer products. The position offers benefits and paid time off, but hours will include holidays and weekends. I wonder if it also includes maybe like a discount on some of the Oscar Mayer products for life. That'd be cool.
Yeah, or all you can eat, or, you know, free.
Free. And maybe you get to keep the Wienermobile. Just
While
you're at it.
Imagine parking that in the city. Ugh.
parallel.
Oh, yeah.
Back
we
in the
don't
back
want
of the
that.
week.
Oh, good point. All right, guys, let's get right to it because you know what? We have some rain that's coming through right now. A little bit of a batch, but again, the heavy downpours have already exited the region. But here's what. Radar indicated totals over 3 inches. This is in Pound Ridge, just or I should say Chappaqua, just north of there. So in between Pound Ridge and Chappaqua, 3.3, almost 3 inches. This is in Valley Cottage. Really hard to see this way. 3 inches of rain. I'll get it right. 3 inches of rain, right? You can kind of see it. Now, taking a look at our peak wind gusts, 72 miles per hour, Island Beach State Park, New Jersey. That occurred yesterday. Hamilton, 62, down to about Wonton, New York. That was almost 50. So whether you're in
All right, welcome back here. We kick things off in the association. The Knicks and the Trailblazers take it to 2. All right, let's take a look outside, get a check of our weather and our traffic. Alex Lee watching the roads and rails, and meteorologist Stacy-Ann Gooden tracking our forecast. Good morning.
Good morning. It's not such a great morning. It's a little bit of a dismal start, but much improved conditions by this afternoon. We'll still be dealing with some lingering flooding from the storm that came through, but let's take a look. We're at a surplus, so we did have some much needed rainfall because we were at a deficit. We had a record rain that we talked about. We'll bring you the latest with that. We're at a deficit in the snow category, but there is some snow showers in the forecast. I don't know if it's going to put a dent in that deficit, though. Taking a look, just a few scattered showers now moving through the area. I'm also paying close attention to this batch moving through as we've been talking about the potential for lingering showers there right now. Also, as we've been talking, we're looking at the Ramapo River at this point, Mahwah, New Jersey. Flood stage at 8 feet, right? Right now, the latest 9.72. It's expected to crest later on, so we're not too far off. This is later on today, late morning, early afternoon. So we're already surpassing flood stage across much of the area. So factor that in. That's why we say, especially if you're in New Jersey, may want to stay off the roads for the time being. Flash flood safety, just keep this in mind. Stay up to date with the weather forecast. And this is flood safety for the most part, in general, whether it's flash flooding or aerial flooding, whatnot. Get to higher ground, turn around, don't drown, as we like to say. When it's this dark, it's hard to see what's ahead of you. So it's so important to heed the warning and just be careful. Taking a look temperature-wise, we're in the 50s across much of the area, north and west of the city. Already starting to see the cooler air move in. Temperatures will take a dive throughout the course of the day. Afternoon, we're looking at temperature readings in the 40s. This is kind of where we should be. We should be in the low 40s. As a matter of fact, we may even just be unseasonably mild at 47 in New York City. Still breezy in Oceanside, 46. Winds are still going to be kicking up and slowly subsiding throughout the course of the overnight. Speaking of overnight, temperatures in the 30s, and some areas may even be chillier than that. Further inland you go. Winds, that's going to be subsiding quite a bit, may pick up during the afternoon hours, but take a look, 20s by 9 p.m. and eventually the teens by tomorrow. Looking at this next storm system, this one also packing a punch. Increasing clouds will give way to showers and storms. Now, this is what it looks like Friday after about the 9 o'clock hour. It's kind of like a repeat scenario where we'll have some areas getting some snow showers, particularly Hudson Valley, places like Sullivan, Ulster County, even that mix, that rain-snow line going through Poughkeepsie. But much of what we're going to get will be rain, and that's something that we're going to continue to monitor. Flooding will also be a concern. Remember, the ground is saturated. So just to add to all of that, rain across the area. All stations reported record daily rainfall. And to add to that, we do have some more totals to report to you. If you are in Middle Island, 3.5 inches. Remember, we were saying 2 to 4 inches possible. Well, we just got shy of 4 inches. Fort Salonga, if you round that up, that's 4 inches. All right. 2.8 in Smithtown, and of course near Holbrook or just west of there, 2.7. That's East Brentwood. So we still have a whole lot of rain to get through because we have a lot of standing water, some ponding on the roads as well, and rivers. Streets have become rivers, as a matter of fact. Those winds, no breaks there. We had winds clocking in the 50s and 60s. Kew Gardens down to Stamford, Midtown, as well as Teterboro. So those winds will be gusting throughout the the course of the day, but throughout the day, it will also be winding down. So it should subside soon enough. We'll notice a difference by tomorrow. So storm coming to an end, but some lingering impacts, including some lingering showers. Flooding concerns remain, and those winds will be gusting at times. Temperatures also falling. During times of high tides, we're paying close attention to that during the 6 and 7 o'clock hours this morning, especially New Jersey. We talked about water cresting. Those rivers have definitely risen above flood stage. So folks there in Lodi will have to contend, as well as other areas across New Jersey. So spotty showers continue. We have another batch coming in from eastern Pennsylvania that we're going to closely monitor as well. Wider view of things. There you go. We have that area of low pressure departing. Behind it, that cold front sending those temperatures plummeting eventually into the 30s by tonight. Another area of concern that we're just going to watch this, a trough attached to that area of low pressure. Right now, temperatures already starting to fall. We were at the 57-degree mark when we started the broadcast. Now we're at 52 at Central Park, and by this afternoon we'll be in the 40s. So you certainly will need the heavier jacket along with the rain boots to play it safe. Eastern end of Long Island by around 9 o'clock, a few spotty showers, and it stays a little bit unsettled, but for the most part drying out nicely, and we'll be at around 32 or so degrees. Newburgh, New York City, ice slip, and then temperatures moving up eventually into the 40s. Here's a look ahead. Next storm system slated to